Welcome to the Lemonade Stand interview. It's the first of its kind. You should be very excited.
I am excited. I'm honored.
USA Today best-selling author Jules Bennett lives in the Midwest with her 2 girls and her high school sweetheart husband. She published her first book in 2005 and hasn't stopped creating unique, fascinating characters since. She often takes her plots from songs or dreams. Jules is the author of contemporary romance from small town to billionaires. While she is good friends with other romance authors, she still fangirls at signings.
Where's that bio from?
Your website.
Are you looking at my website?
Yeah. Well, no, I copied it off your website. So unless you changed it this morning, it's from your website.
No, I didn't. I was just like, that sounds fairly updated. So
yeah,
I'm wondering if Jill had a little hand in that.
Jill is our assistant. We share an assistant.
We share an assistant.
We share lots of things.
Here.
We share book series. We share assistants. We have a question from Carla for Jules. I would love to hear about your journey to published author and what it was like to get the call.
I've just always loved writing. I've always loved creating. It was just kind of an outlet, I guess. Therapeutic. I would think a lot of authors could say that. I happened to just get online and I thought, surely there's other people that are very weird like me. And I was looking for writer groups. So I live in the middle of nowhere. So the closest group I could find was either Columbus or Cincinnati. So that's either way is 2 hours from me. So I went to my first meeting and absolutely loved it. And actually, funny story, my second meeting, Lori Foster was the speaker.
Oh my gosh, wow.
She was the speaker, and I remember her saying she liked my shirt, and I was like, I'm in. That's all it takes. She likes my shirt.
All I have to do is write a decent book, but the cool kids are letting me say
right. I'm going to put that in my query letter. I was at an RWA conference, which is Romance Writers of America, and I happened upon a small press, which was the Wild Rose Press, and they were just asking me
Wild Rose.
Yeah. Yep, they were asking me what I wrote, and I explained this book that I had just finished. She seemed intrigued by it, and long story short, they ended up buying that one plus one other one. Then I acquired an agent at the Lori Foster RAGT, and she had read my Wild Rose books, and she said, "You have a voice for Harlequin Desire." Well, I'd never read a Harlequin Desire in my life. So I left that meeting with that agent and went across the street to Barnes & Noble and bought a Leanne Banks Harlequin Desire.
So you knew what the heck she was talking about.
Yeah, I was like, I have a voice for what? So I read it in my hotel room that night. I read the whole thing. And the next day I went back to her because, you know, it's like the event is a few days. Mm-hmm. And I said, I think I can do that. Yeah. And I sold my first attempt at a Harlequin Desire, which was Seducing the Enemy's Daughter. I had a special ringtone for my agent, and it was At Last. I had just had my second daughter and I was changing her diaper. I hear the song At Last coming from my purse, and I leave my daughter in her crib, totally naked, and I go get the call. And she is telling me that I sold 2 Harlequin. And I started crying like a moron. And my toddler is, "Mommy, what's wrong? Mommy, what's wrong?" And then I've got baby in the other room crying because she's naked. And it was just...
The 3 of you are crying.
The call was mass chaos. Yes.
Yes. You're one of the funniest people I know. And
as I did from Team Oxford Comics.
Yeah. Your TikToks are hilarious. I'm not on TikTok personally, but I was going to give you an opportunity to talk about that. It was kind of your new obsession.
Today, doctor told me I need to cut my alcohol. Not quite sure what this will do, but here I am.
What made you get on TikTok, and is it something you're going to continue doing?
So, I guess what made me get on TikTok was I would see different people on Facebook just post a video they had seen on TikTok. You know, just goofy little videos, and I'm like, that's so me. Like that could not be more me. I just think in this crazy world where there's so much negativity, why not just be silly and fun? Throw that out there.
Totally agree. You know, I think it's a byproduct of like the pandemic because everyone in 2020 lost all control and people are just scrabbling to get any bit of it back that they possibly can. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree.
And that means they're being super controlling over like really weird things. Like, not to throw him under the bus, but my husband's like, don't use that dishwasher setting. And I'm like, it has all these buttons for a reason.
Right.
I wanted to try that one out.
Listen, buddy, if you're not washing them, quit complaining.
Right. That's like his domain. So I overstepped, I think. But what was it like for you to write a book during the pandemic? Was it different than your usual process, or was it the same, or what changed for you in 2020?
My kids were home from school.
Yeah.
Which is, somebody asked me about that the other day, and it's not bad. They're older now. You know, I don't have to change their diapers or, you know, cut up their chicken in small bites.
Yeah.
Like, they make their own lunch and breakfast, and I still make dinner, and we sit at the table as a family. They were home, and my husband worked from home, and I loved it. I love when my family's home. I love when my kids are home.
Yeah.
So, but my husband and I wondered how we would work together, both working from home. And I know you're very experienced with that.
Yeah.
But we loved it. You know, we would sit out on the back porch, which is, you know, it's a nice big covered back porch. And we would just sit out there with our coffee in the mornings and work. And then we'd take our lunch out there. And it was just kind of nice to have a little shared, because we've never done that before. And I think that kind of spoiled him. Because now he's like, I think I'm coming home at 11 on Friday. I'm done.
How many books have you written overall, or how many are published? Do you have a ballpark idea?
I'm going to say it's roughly around 90.
Oh, wow. 90. That's amazing. I'm going to go into talking about your newest release, which this came out in April. And this is called Twin Games in Music City. And it is book 1 of a series called Beaumont Bay that you and I actually wrote together, but separate. She wrote this one. I wrote that one sitting back there. We did every other one.
I have 1 and 2. Okay, so this was 1 is me and 2 is you.
Yep. And then you have 3, and I wrapped up with 4. So it's kind of a miniature continuity, but with only you and me. This leads me into Christiana's question. Do you find it easier or harder working with another author in a series?
You were totally easy to work with. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here playing with this paper clip.
Okay.
If you keep hearing
No, I can't hear it.
And even when I've done continuities with other authors, like with Harlequin, I think the biggest one I did was a 12-book continuity. I think there was 12, maybe it was 10. I don't know. But I mean, even that was fairly easy because I haven't worked with a difficult author.
That's good.
I'm sure they're out there, but I haven't worked with them.
I know, right? I avoid them. If I even hear a rumor that someone's difficult, I'm like,
I would avoid them. Yeah, right.
Never mind. We're all a bunch of like professional working women just trying to raise our families. Have you noticed whenever you watch like a romantic comedy or a drama where the woman is the lead that she can't have it all? Like if she falls in love, then her family's falling apart. If she prioritizes her career, then her love life, she's getting a divorce. Romance is the place where we let women have everything that they want.
Well,
the career,
and
the
there's
family.
no reason in real life you can't.
It is, right? You have that balance, I think, with your, your, like you said, your husband, your family, your career.
I feel like I have that balance. Yeah.
You do. Okay, so Letitia asks, I have a question for both of you. Was the creative process and its steps different somehow because you were working with another author? If so, in what ways? I remember specifically with this series, talking about making all of the names like country music or rock and roll.
Yes.
It's why it's why you have a Will, because we were like Willie Nelson and you're like, I can't call him Willie. My book is Cash for Johnny Cash. And then I named her Presley because I didn't have a Presley yet for Elvis Presley. Yeah. That was different creatively for me.
Well, the creative process was different in that we were plotting on your boat.
That's true. That's true.
You always get to plot on a boat.
Yeah, plotting on the boat. That's kind of where we had the idea for the series. I think we had already had the idea to work together, but
we should back up and say that we always wanted to write something because we loved Sam Hunt.
Yes. Let's move on to Marcy's question. We know Marcy.
Yes.
Jules writes about Hannah, and she's done her research. She knows.
I'm telling you what, she knows more than I do.
She knows. Jules writes about Hannah in book 1, and Jessica writes about Hallie in book 4, which is Hannah's twin sister. Since each of you wrote about a twin, did you have character worksheets to review to make sure Hannah and Hallie kept their twinness in each book? We had shared Pinterest boards.
Right.
And
we did have shared Pinterest boards.
We did, and that helped. So I would go and look at the characters before I started writing about them. But Hannah and Hallie had very, very different personalities from the inception of creating them. Right. They were opposites. Right.
Yeah. Both very like powerful women in their own way.
Yes.
Just so like mine where she's on the stage all the time, she's more blingy and just always on. I think that's how we literally described her, is that she's always feels like she has to be on.
Yeah.
You know, like the hair, the makeup, the everything. And, you know, her sister is just dynamic, but just behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, let's see. Marcy's got another question here. Did you have a series Bible to use while writing all 4 books, or did you just text and FaceTime when you needed to know something?
All of the above. Yes. Yes. Jessica is a whiz at like fine-tuning the notes. Like my notes would ramble and ramble. But yours are just like, boop, 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 boop. Here's your bullet points. That's all you need.
Yeah.
But yes, we did have notes. Then we had the Pinterest boards, and we texted a lot.
We did.
And if it was too much to text, we would FaceTime.
So I'm going to read an excerpt before I get way far ahead of myself.
Okay.
I totally forget. Okay, so the excerpt is from Twin Games in Music City. Jules doesn't know what I'm going to read, but that's okay.
I have no idea. I didn't even know you were going to.
It was a last minute thing.
Okay.
Intrigued to know more about him and his family, Hannah tipped her head. Then what would you call them? Career-oriented, sometimes arrogant, sometimes a pain in my ass, he said, but they always have my back. They're pretty easy on the eyes as well, she added, yet none of you have girlfriends. I love that line. The muscle in Will's jaw ticked. How do you know that? Hannah laughed and rolled her eyes. Oh, please, this is Beaumont Bay. Nashville has nothing on us. The only thing hotter than the country music is the gossip mill. Maybe they're discreet. He crossed his arms over his chest and shifted his stance, clearly getting uncomfortable. Why the sudden personal interest in my brothers? Hannah shrugged. You know all about my family. Maybe I wanted to know about yours. Your family has been in the spotlight since before you were born. Fair enough, she agreed. All the more reason for me to know about yours. After all, Cash is in the spotlight now. I want to learn more about Luke and Gavin, but let's start with you. The way he stared at her like he could read her every thought had Hannah backing up until she bumped into the stool. She eased onto it and continued to wait for Will to say something. The silence surrounding them was too much. Her heart beat faster than it should have, and her stomach twisted into knots. His intense stare made her thoughts simply vanish. She found herself focusing on his face, those striking eyes that were boring into her, that square jawline, the stubble that he hadn't shaved for probably the past 3 days. And then there were his lips, those lips that had her staring far too long and fantasizing far too much. A man like Will, who was so dominant in everything he did, would surely kiss a woman with just as much power and passion. Your heroes have this intense presence, and all he's doing is literally standing in front of her. And you can feel it on the page.
I remember them saying, think of the show Dynasty.
Yeah.
And take it to the next level. And then just the wording of the guy, of the hero. Like, he's not going to say, do you want to go to dinner? It's, I'm picking you up at 6.
Yes.
Like, it's yeah. The wording. It's so important for desire. There's such a fine line between alpha and asshole. I don't want him to come across as a jerk. Or if he does, he needs redeeming qualities and justification to make him have those thoughts or those actions. And they can still be alpha, and at times they can come across as a jerk, but as long as the reader understands that vulnerable internal dialogue with themselves, like, I think they're redeemable. And that's it. They have to be redeemable. That's the key. I don't remember. It had to have been one of my first desires, literally like 1 or 2. And they're like, he can't say I love you on page 50. Or, it was very early, and I'm like, well, why not? You know? And they're like, well, this is desire. And he knows on about page 200 out of 202.
Yeah. It's challenging after you write a lot of them.
It's challenging because you don't want it to feel like the book was just cut off. Like, I love you, the end.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so I try to at least have him acknowledge something earlier.
Yes.
You know, like, I feel something, but I don't.
Right.
I can't quite identify.
Right. It's kind of like when you eat something really spicy.
Something's happening.
I was going to go back to you talking about Lori Foster saying she liked your shirt. And I was at a signing event with Lori Foster was at, and you were there. And when you found out that I was about to be published, you were like so nice to me. And then like every time I saw you after, you're like, sit with me, Jessica. And I was like, who is she talking to? Kind of like when Lori invited me to her, are you coming to my Christmas party at my house? Right. And I was like,
oh no.
What?
No.
I think it's being new is so hard, and this is something I had never done before, and I didn't know what to expect. And so thank you for that. I don't think you
tell
ever...
that story. I've heard you tell that multiple times, and I don't remember it. Yeah. But I'm glad that I made that impact.
You did. Other than Lori liking your shirt, was there anyone in your past or multiple people who have extended a kindness that just like really sticks with you, like that helped bolster your confidence?
Definitely Lori. Roxanne St. Clair had a huge hand in
she's lovely.
She's literally one of the sweetest people. I was afraid to do something.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Roxanne about it. And I said, what did I say? I said, are you about to make me take this big leap alone or something? And she said, I'm about to push you off the cliff. You know, just like sometimes you just need people to believe in you and push you. And I needed that. And I needed that from people who were experienced.
So our lemonade stand theme this month for the month of April is balance. And the reason I chose it is because my life was very out of over the winter. I was so busy. It was like all work and no home life. So you've touched on this a little bit, but you're a busy mom, sister, friend, and full-time author. What is your number one tip for keeping your life balanced when you wear all these different hats?
I'm going to be completely transparent here. And I almost said something when you were talking about the pandemic and quarantine and all that, is that I literally feel like probably within the last 6 months, I'm not keeping any hat on. Mm-hmm. I feel like all the hats are sitting there and I'm staring at them like I don't even know which one to put on. Like if I give 100% to my marriage, probably my career and my kids are getting 75. It is impossible to give 100% to every single part of my life.
Yeah.
And I have that guilt, and it's frustrating. And honestly, like I said, within the last 6 months, I feel like I'm floundering. I'm not in balance. And I don't know what I was doing before. I don't know what has shifted in my world to make me feel like I'm not doing any of it right. So I feel like some of this is 2020. Not to blame 2020 for everything, but like I said, I don't believe that the ramifications from what we all went through in 2020, I don't believe the extremeness has hit us yet. I mean, I feel like you were like me. We just stayed busy the whole year. Like, you remember when you would sit on a teeter-totter as a kid and you would try to get each person hovering in midair, and you could do it for a few seconds. Unless you're with your dad, and then you never were able to do it. But you do it for a few seconds. Yeah, and you're just flailing. So that's, we all have those flailing moments where we just can't get any weight on our side at all. But I think the imagery is like, we really try to get it perfectly straight, but that is rare. That's very uncommon. And I think that balance is more like course correcting. You know, it's more like, let's go a little, like you said, you've got 100% over here, this is lagging, then you run over there a little bit. It's the same way. That's what I feel like. It's like you can't give 100% of yourself to every single aspect of your life. It's literally impossible.
Yeah. And I really believe that that's going to be something that a lot of people watching this are going to be able to relate to. I think there is a myth that we have it all together when really we're running in as many circles as everybody else. So
and I think just raising awareness that, I mean, I know people that post on social media and everything has to look perfect or whatever. Like, that's not life. That's not real life. I've always been upfront and honest that I suffer from depression and anxiety. But if I can find one thing that I really love and do it once a day, I at least feel like I'm in control of that, of that little nugget, when I feel like I'm not in control of everything else.
So for me, in the month of April, when I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on balance this month, it has meant looking at everything on my to-do list, because it's massive, and saying, what's the worst that could happen if I didn't do that?
Right.
And just letting it go. I've let a lot go.
I have heard you say that before about like, what is the worst that's going to happen if I don't get this done?
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, your mentality about that and your mentality about, I mean, I've asked you things before, and I can't give a specific, but I've asked you things before and you're like, well, I don't have time for that right now. And I always think like, I would have made myself no matter what.
Yeah.
But I've been taking a page from your book, like, I don't have to make myself. I don't.
Yeah, and one of the phrases I'm trying to insert into my life, and it's really, really hard, I need to like write it on a Post-it note or something, is when someone approaches you about something via email, text, anything, let me think about that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we take a breath.
Right. No.
I know I want to be accommodating. Yeah, all of a sudden I look at the month of April and I've got, I had already planned to, you know, on this interview, I had agreed to an interview with a college student. By the way, I'm never interviewed. My friend from high school asked me if his daughter could talk to me about writing. And then someone else asked about an interview and I was like, April, what is going on?
Yeah, all this month.
Like, waiting on the Today Show. Like, where's that? Where's that call?
Well, it's when we get our movie deal. They'll call.
Let's end with, where can readers find you on the internet? You don't have to share your home address or anything.
My home address. So my website is julesbennett.com. I have a fan page on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. My TikTok is at HEA Books.
HEA Books. Cute.
HEA Books. And my husband, at least once a week. Do people even know what that means? I'm like, people who read.
They better.
What that means.
What can we expect then in 2021 from you? Do you want to leave anybody with a teaser?
So I have our books series, and I'm working on a series. It is about a distillery, and it's 3 best friends who run it. And I got that inspiration real quick from when I went to visit Castle and Key, which is a distillery in Kentucky. And it was run, at the time, it was the only female distiller in the country. So she really inspired me. She's not there now anymore.
So the 3 best friends are the heroines in this.
The 3 best friends are the heroines.
That's awesome.
And they find out they are actually sisters.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that part.
Different dads.
Yeah, I remember talking about this.
Yeah,
but I didn't
know they're sisters.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, look at this. It's absolutely gorgeous. I actually love these covers. I feel like they're so vibrant. They've got light. They've light coming. Me too. And
I loved when we would get our emails and we were like opening with one eye.
I know, like,
because we're like, one before this was so good. What's this one gonna be? And they're all amazing.
And they're all beautiful. All right, Jules Bennett, have yourself a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you videoing now?
Yeah, but I'm editing everything, so.
I just had to have her bring me this bobby pin because I had these hair, they're like here.
And I'm going to edit and put it to music and put an intro and stuff. So if you go off on a weird tangent or say something you don't mean to say, just be like, ah!
Oh, let's keep it authentic.
Yeah, my hair's doing weird. My hair's weird now.
Well, my mistake was I had it in a ponytail when I was outside. I took our shutters down and I'm spray painting them.
Gosh.
I know, because I don't want to pay somebody. I'm like, can't spray paint. Except now I'm looking at all of the overspray that's under my fingernails.
Are you?
My shirt.
Kind of ratty. This is my Stitch Fix shirt. I like it.
I do like it. It's very cute on you.
Pretty. Yeah, it's really pretty.
I haven't done Stitch Fix forever. I feel like I'm going through withdrawal.
They were like, if you don't order a Stitch Fix, we're going to take your credit away. And I was like, order.
Because you still laugh that I have a landline. I have a landline phone.
We call it her pay phone. She's like, I just put another quarter in. Hold on.
My rotary dial.
Yeah.
Do you have any joggers?
Right, exactly.
I bet they ran out of stuff like that. I mean, you and I have both done this for so long. We would get canned.
Unemployable. Yeah. You'd be like, what do you mean put on shoes?
I know.
Shoes.
I'm wearing my house shoes right now. I put on jewelry, I put on makeup, but I'm wearing my house shoes.
And you are a very prolific writer. That's such a hard word for me.
I was admiring the paint. I love those paint colors.
I got that picture.
Yeah.
I've got, that one says, my favorite love story is ours. And this is like a glittery.
I love that glitter picture.
This is my favorite place to be. And I moved my tree so it'd be on the video.
You outdid yourself in there.
Huh?
You outdid yourself.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you.
Hi, Jules Bennett.
Hi, Jessica Lemmon.
Welcome to the Lemonade Stand interview. It's the first of its kind.